A child plays with its toys, forgetting hunger and bodily pains. Exactly so does the man of realization take pleasure in the reality without ideas of I or mine and is happy. Men of realization have their food without anxiety or humiliation by begging, and they drink from the water of rivers. They live freely and independently and sleep without fear in cremation grounds or forests. Their clothing may be the quarters themselves, which need no washing and drying or any bark, etc. The earth is their bed. They roam in the avenue of the Vedant, while their pastime is in the Supreme Brahman. The knower of the Atma, who wears no outward mark and is unattached to external things, rests on this body without identification and experiences all sorts of sense objects as they come through others' wish like a child. Established in the ethereal plane of absolute knowledge, he wanders in the world, sometimes like a madman, sometimes like a child, and at other times like a ghoul, having no other clothes on his person except the quarters, or sometimes wearing clothes or perhaps skins at other times. The sage, living alone, enjoys the sense objects, being the very embodiment of desirelessness, always satisfied with his own self and himself present at the all. Sometimes a fool, sometimes a sage, sometimes possessed of regal splendor, sometimes wandering, sometimes behaving like a motionless python, sometimes wearing a benignant expression, sometimes honored, sometimes insulted, sometimes unknown. Thus lives the man of realization, ever happy with supreme bliss. Though without riches, yet ever content, though helpless, yet very powerful, though not enjoying the sense objects, yet eternally satisfied, though without an exemplar, yet looking upon all with an eye of equality, though doing, yet inactive, though experiencing fruits of past actions, yet untouched by them, though possessed of a body, yet without identification with it, though limited, yet omnipresent is he. Neither pleasure nor pain, nor good nor evil ever touches this knower of Brahman, who always lives without the body idea. Pleasure or pain or good or evil affects only him who has connections with the gross body, etc., and identifies himself with these. How can good or evil or their effects touch the sage who has identified himself with the reality and thereby shattered his bondage? The sun, which appears to be but is not actually swallowed by Rahu, is said to be swallowed on account of delusion by people not knowing the real nature of the sun. Similarly, ignorant people look upon the perfect knower of Brahman, who is wholly rid of bondages of the body, etc., as possessed of the body, seeing but an appearance of it. In reality, however, he rests, discarding the body like the snake its love, and the body is moved hither and thither by the force of the prana. As a piece of wood is borne by the current to a high or low ground, so is his body carried on by the momentum of past actions to the varied experience of their fruits as these present themselves in due course. The man of realization, bereft of the body idea, moves amid sense enjoyments like a man subject to transmigration through desires engendered by the prarabdha work. He himself, however, lives unmoved in the body like a witness, free from mental oscillations, like the pivot of the potter's wheel. He neither directs the sense organs to their objects nor detaches from these, but stays like an unconcerned spectator, and he has not the least regard for the fruits of actions, his mind being thoroughly inebriated with drinking the undiluted elixir of the bliss of the Atma. He who, giving up all considerations of the fitness or otherwise of objects of meditation, lives as the absolute Atma, is verily Shiva himself, and he is the best among the knowers of Brahman. Through the destruction of limitations, the perfect knower of Brahman is merged in the one Brahman without a second, which he had been all along, becomes very free even while living, and attains the goal of his life. As an actor, when he puts on the dress of his role, or when he does not, is always a man, so the perfect knower of Brahman is always Brahman and nothing else. Let the body of the sannyasin, who has realized his identity with Brahman, wither and fall anywhere like the leaf of a tree. It is of little consequence to him, for it has already been burnt by the fire of knowledge. The sage who always lives in the reality Brahman as infinite bliss, the one without a second, does not depend upon the customary considerations of place, time, etc., for giving up this mass of skin, flesh and filth. For the giving up of the body is not liberation, nor that of the staff and the water bowl, but liberation consists in the destruction of the heart's knot, which is nescience. If a leaf falls in a small stream or a river, or a place consecrated by Shiva, or in a crossing of roads, of what good or evil effect is that to the tree? The destruction of the body organs, pranas and buddhi is like that of a leaf or flower or fruit to a tree. It does not affect the Atma, the reality, the embodiment of bliss, which is one's true nature, that survives like the tree. The Shrutis, by setting forth the real nature of the Atma in the words, the embodiment of knowledge, etc., which indicate its reality, speak of the destruction of the apparent limitations merely. The Shruti passage, "Verily is this Atma immortal, my dear?" mentions the immortality of the Atma in the midst of things perishable and subject to modification. Just as a stone, a tree, grass, paddy, husk, etc., when burnt, are reduced to earth, ashes only, even so the whole objective universe comprising the body, organs, pranas, manas, and so forth, are when burnt by the fire of realization, reduced to the Supreme Self. As darkness, which is distinct from sunshine, vanishes in the sun's radiance, so the whole objective universe dissolves in Brahman. As when a jar is broken, the space enclosed by it becomes palpably the limitless space, so when the apparent limitations are destroyed, the knower of Brahman verily becomes Brahman itself. As milk poured into milk, oil into oil, and water into water becomes united and one with it, so the sage who has realized the Atma becomes one in the Atma. Realizing thus the extreme isolation that comes of disembodiedness and becoming eternally identified with the absolute reality, Brahman, the sage no longer suffers transmigration. For his bodies consisting of nescience, etc., having been burnt by the realization of the identity of the Jiva and Brahman, he becomes Brahman itself. And how can Brahman ever have rebirth? Bondage and liberation, which are conjured up by Maya, do not really exist in the Atma, one's reality, as the appearance and exit of the snake do not abide in the rope. Bondage and liberation may be talked of when there is the presence or absence of a covering wheel, but there can be no covering wheel for Brahman, which is always uncovered for want of a second thing besides itself. If there be, the non-duality of Brahman will be contradicted. Bondage and liberation are attributes of the buddhi, which ignorant people falsely superimpose on the reality, as the covering of the eyes by cloud is transferred to the sun. For this immutable Brahman is knowledge absolute, the one without a second and unattached. The idea that bondage exists and the idea that it does not are, with reference to the reality, both attributes of the buddhi merely, and never belong to the eternal reality Brahman. Hence this bondage and liberation are created by Maya and are not in the Atma. How can there be any idea of limitation with regard to the Supreme Truth, which is without parts, without activity, calm, unimpeachable, taintless, and one without a second, as there can be none with regard to the infinite sky? There is neither death nor birth, neither a bound nor a struggling soul, neither a seeker after liberation nor a liberated one. This is the ultimate truth. I have today repeatedly revealed to thee, as to one's own son, this excellent and profound secret, which is the inmost purport of all Vedant, the crest of the Vedas. Considering thee an aspirant after liberation, purged of the taints of this dark age, and of a mind free from desires. Hearing these words of the Guru, the disciple out of reverence prostrated himself before him, and with his permission went his way, freed from bondage. And the Guru, with his mind steeped in the ocean of existence and bliss absolute, roamed, verily purifying the whole world. All differentiating ideas vanished from his mind. Thus, by way of a dialogue between the teacher and the disciple, has the nature of the Atma been ascertained for the easy comprehension of seekers after liberation. May those sannyasis who are seekers after liberation, who have purged themselves of all taints of the mind by the observance of the prescribed methods, who are averse to worldly pleasures, and who are of serene minds, and take a delight in the Shruti, appreciate this salutary teaching. For those who are afflicted due to wandering about in a desert in search of water, for them here is the triumphant message of Shankara pointing out within easy reach the soothing ocean of nectar, Brahman, the one without a second, to lead them on to liberation.